G'day everyone. Proud to say Barkarati is brought to you by Radix Nutrition, makers of the most technically comprehensive nutrition products that have ever existed. Unlock your potential with Radix. G'day listeners, welcome to Barkarati the Sailing Podcast. My name's Jordan Spencer and it's that time of the week where we get to hang out with some really cool sailors, but of course I have to share the mic with my two idiot mates. First off, Mr. Brett Perry.
Greetings, exalted one.
How are you, bud?
It's your commitment to the cause we love, Jay. The commitment to the cause, getting yourself that little yellow plane and flying yourself home from wherever it was you were. I couldn't believe it when the photo popped up.
Yeah, you love it.
So good.
Yeah. So good.
How was the flight? I mean, it's a long way on your own.
It's a long way, yeah. It's very scary for a little fella. Let me bring in the other bloke and we'll go into more detail.
He had a voice that could make a wolverine purr.
Mr. Nick Bice.
Well, planes, trains, automobiles, hotels, everything this week for the Barkarati crew.
All right.
So, yeah. Current location, Sorrento, Italy. Now, if you want to see some tourists, holy crap-a-moly, there is plenty of tourists around this place.
Sorrento's your spot.
It's, pretty good. Here for the Trigolfi week, whatever. The Europeans, Maxi Europeans.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Here for a couple of weeks.
You want to know the funny thing, my friend? You know how you're in
What?
Sorrento and the Maxi Europeans, on the World Sailing webpage, it's listed as Sorrento in Australia?
As just going to Sorrento.
In Australia, yeah. But it says the Maxi Europeans, but location Sorrento, Australia.
Oh, yeah.
Bit like St. Petersburg, Russia.
Yeah, I reckon the marina in
the wrong
St. Petersburg probably won't hold these boats.
Yeah.
But
I don't think.
So shout out to all the competitors here that I'll be seeing up and down the dock in the next few days. Big shout out to Danny, actually, from Magic Carpet. Saw him on the dock yesterday. Big listener. And he said he's been driving back and forth from the new Magic Carpet being built. He wrote to us a few months ago. Fellow Defender owner, owns a 505 sailor. And I said, well, you weren't driving a Defender. You weren't driving a Defender listening to Barkarati because you wouldn't be able to listen. Too noisy.
And you wouldn't tow the 50 with the Defender because it'd be just covered in oil. Like it just.
Well, it could be a new speed thing. When it gets there, you don't need to put silicone on the bottom.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
No Mr. Sheen.
No, Mr. Sheen, Defender oil.
No, so here, been a big week. Went to Valencia. It's becoming the hub of yachting in the Med. Bloody good. Did a tour at King Marine. Fantastic. What they're doing out there. So, all good in yachting world Mediterraneano.
I always knew Valencia was going to be the hub.
Cool.
Always knew it, BP.
Always knew it.
That's why you moved to Oz.
That's why I moved to Oz. Well, I couldn't wait another 7 years, mate.
Exactly.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right. Cool. Shall I bring in?
No, I want to hear about your journey, Jordan, before we start. Where have you been, my friend?
What have you been doing? All about us,
Well, like I'm a secret lethal killing weapon. I was in Special Operations Forces meeting over in Florida. So talk about being completely out of place, feeling completely out of place. But anyway, I was at a thing in Florida and coming home, I got woken up on the morning to come home, 3:30 a.m. an email just saying, you're connecting flight through Charlotte to LA. We'll get you there now at 20 p.m. It's delayed. And my flight back to Oz was 10 p.m. So I was just going, no.
It didn't quite work.
No.
Hence the yellow plane.
And so I got straight onto the travel agent and bought some tickets to go through Chicago. So I got the last ticket out of Chicago into LAX. And I get to Chicago. No, I go to take off from Tampa to go to Chicago. Plane delayed and then delayed. And it got down to I had 38 minutes. If the plane was on time from there, I'd have 38 minutes to run to my connection. We go into the aero bridge. They stand us there for 25 minutes, stinking heat, sweating. Put us on the plane. Sat on the plane for 5 minutes. Right, you got to get off the plane. The plane's broken. So I knew I was stuffed. Anyway, I ended up catching some flights. Got to Chicago, then got into LAX about 2 a.m. And then eventually got a plane the next day back, but I've only just arrived home a few hours later, a few hours ago as we're doing this. So apologies to the listeners, because it would normally have gone, we planned it all, but the American plane system infrastructure is bad. I think it was a combination of the typhoons or tornadoes in the southern states and a whole bunch of Boeing planes being pulled out of circulation is what I understand it to be. But anyway, lots of fun.
I heard it was because you know how they wait where people are in the plane and stuff, but they just had to watch you because the CG of the plane was a little bit too high.
They tried moving you around to different spots, but it just couldn't find it.
16.
I have a very big head. Enormous. An enormous head.
50 hours of flying or being in airports is what it was, that trip. So that's a new record, I reckon, for me. But
yeah, that's a good one.
That's a good one.
Righto.
Cool. Let's bring in our guest because it's an interesting one. It's topical because we're fired up about Worrell 1000, which has actually just started. And our guest is going to be competing right away. So that was an obvious no-brainer. But he's also the father of modern foiling in many ways because he's the first person to compete in a foiling moth at the Worlds. He's also owner of Windrush Catamarans, Yachtsman of the Year in Western Australia a few times. He's got a whole bunch of world championships. And
under the radar, sort of, isn't he? But he's just got so much done.
Got so much done, yeah. But very, very interesting guy, and his brain works differently. So we were quite keen to have a bit of a chat, particularly with the Worrell on. So, and there's just so much to talk about, and you know, from an inspirational perspective and how to approach your sailing, it was a no-brainer. So welcome to the show, Brett Burvill. Brett, welcome to Bar Karate, mate. It's great to see you.
Yeah, good to be on.
Yeah, mate, you're amazing. Little human being, all the things that you've been doing in life. What do you reckon drives you, mate? Like, where do all the ideas come from?
I don't know. I don't sleep a lot. I tend to wake up and then just come up with stuff and not be able to get back to sleep. So, yeah, I used to put a notepad beside the bed and try and write stuff in the middle of the night, and you'd wake up, you couldn't read half of it. So I kind of gave up and just remembered what I could.
Yeah. But so if we start out though, like from my understanding, you're a little fella up at Geraldton, so Gero, and your family was into racing cars and karts and stuff like that. How do you become a sailor with that background?
Well, my father originally was a sailor. He was right into 14-foot skiffs, and before that, some of the junior classes below that. He sailed with Noel Robbins, Stumbles that sailed on Australia in the America's Cup and won gold at the Paralympics. And he used to sail with when he had his car crash, and was sailing with him as a quadriplegic, basically, on a 14-foot skiff. Wow. And but he had been a sailor, and he had then gotten into motorsports, racing go-karts and so on, and was very good at it. And, as we grew up as a family, I've got an older sister and brother, and my brother was very good at karting as well. But with my dad's job, he was working for the Water Authority, or the PWD as it was back in those days. And he got stationed up in Carnarvon and then to Geraldton, and it was just getting too expensive to travel back to the city to do the kart racing all the time. And so decided to sell all the karts, and my mum bought the family a Windrush 14, and that was basically. So this was long before my family had anything to do with Windrush, but so we were a customer. She bought us a Windrush 14 on a trailer, my dad initially sailed with my sister out of St George's Yacht Club in Geraldton, off the beach down at Black Point.
Yeah.
Then she got started sailing with her boyfriend, later husband. And so my brother started sailing with my dad, and I had this little thing called a flying fish, which was like an 11-foot, sort of like a sunfish, but it was called a flying fish, crazy little boat, really cool fun. And I used to sail it in the surf, roll it over, just learned how to handle the ocean kind of thing. And eventually my brother started sailing on his own, so I started sailing with my dad as the crew, and then eventually I put him on the front because I thought I could do a better job on the back. And then I got my own boat, and on it went from there. So that's sort of going back to 1977 when that all sort of started. And by 1989, I guess I was kind of sailing on my own boat by then.
Well, Brett, you and I have got something in common, believe it or not. My first ever sail was at the age of 7 on a Windrush.
There you go.
Yeah.
I
Back in Malane, back down in Malane, back in the lakes.
Shall we leave and talk, Jordan?
Yeah.
Or are you going to tell me you had this experience as well?
No, well, I mean, if in Western Australia, it used to be, I think it used to be the Windrush Catamarans at Perth there, that basin in front of on the river in Perth where you could go and hire the cats. I think that they were all Windrushes, I reckon, from memory.
They've still got about half Windrushes, half Hobie waves down there now.
Yeah, okay.
So, yeah.
Going back to your family meeting, Brett, when your mother all sat you around the kitchen table and said, you're selling all the carts, you're selling all that stuff, the adrenaline building stuff, and we're getting into sailing. Did everyone walk out tripping over their bottom lip, or was it rejoice?
I think that
this is it.
I think kind of like we can't afford to keep doing the motorsport. And the whole family kind of recognised that. And I mean, at the time, I was only 9 years old or something, so I had never got to have my go in the go-karts in my motorsport. I'd driven them a little bit, but I'd never been able to race or anything. And so in the back of my mind has always been somewhere down the track, I'll do my motorsport, which I do now as well. But yeah, it took me, 20 years or something before I got involved with motorsport. And it's kind of a fantastic side thing for me to do now because it takes a similar kind of discipline to sailing. You have to be really focused and the balance that you get feeling the cart. I kind of feel it actually has a really good synergy with the sailing. So
I agree.
And I really often doing it. And when you're doing it, you've got to completely focus on that for the day, the weekend, whatever. It completely takes me away from work and the workshop and lets me clear my head. So it's great.
And as from a mechanic's point of view too, right? Operationally, preparation, all those sorts of things, the synergies just keep going and going.
Absolutely, yeah. And, like being able to do, I do most of the work on the cart myself. I got a mate that helps me build the engines because that's his thing. But I do all the sort of maintenance on the mechanical side of the cart. And yeah, I can put together any cart, any race car, any boat, any whatever. So yeah, it's just a skill. My brother's an industrial designer and engineer, and he's worked in motorsport all over the world as well. So sort of come from a fairly hands-on sort of family. So
I feel like there's a challenge there. Every West Australian's going to turn up at your workshop and say, right, I've got this obscure thing. Can you fix my washing machine or something like that? Like it'll be.
No, we know he's packing the trailer bearings when you're going on tour.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Maybe for a fee. I can do anything for a fee.
Spot the country boy that gets straight to packing the trailer bearings because you're going to cook them if you don't. So yeah, I like that price. So how do you go to owning Windrush yourself, mate? Like that must have been what was that process?
So yeah, it's during the 80s. We were sailing Windrushes to the point where I think I finished school in 86. And I think 85 or something, I won my first national title sailing the Windrush 14 as like a 57-kilo ring and wet kid, sailing national titles in Adelaide where it blew its ring off half the time and was rough. And I didn't even win a race for the whole regatta. I just got seconds, thirds, fourths. And the guys that were quick in the breeze were shit at light. And I just hung in and ended up winning the thing overall. So that was kind of the start of it. And then, the next year I was not really sure what I wanted to do when I left school. I didn't really want to go to university. Knew I wanted to do something with my hands, sailmaker, boat builder, mechanic, something like that. And Windrush Yachts actually came up for sale. And the guys that had started the company, Jay and Richard McFarlane, were very keen for it to go to someone who would take it on and continue to love it like they did. They did all of that. They spent all their money doing all the windsurfing, sailboarding stuff after they'd already developed all the catamaran. And they spent a huge amount of money trying to prove that the patent for windsurfer was invalid, which they did. The moment the judge's gavel fell on that decision to say that the patent was invalid in Australia, the wharf was already flooded with sailboards from Birk and Tenkate and other manufacturers all over the world. So they opened up their market, but they closed it by allowing everyone else in before they'd even started. So they kind of were a bit over and wanted to sell the business, wanted to go to someone who was going to continue to operate it and love it. And so they offered it for sale through the Windrush Association first. And my sort of sat me down and said, you don't know what you're going to do. Would you be interested if we bought the company? Will you work in it? Maybe that's something that
cool's that.
Do. And it was worth bugger all. We basically bought it for stock value because it was super run down. And that's where it all started. So 1986, I think it was about May, June, something like that. 86, we family took it on, and then we sort of worked through building just Windrush 14s for a long time, and then over time, I started doing other projects, different boats, and then ultimately the Moth, and then we built Spitfire, the 40-foot foiling twin-masted catamaran in 2001, and at the end of that, I sort of said to the family, I don't want to keep doing this unless I have control of where it's going. And so my wife and I bought the company from the family. Yeah, right. And so we've owned it since two.
I mean, it must have been interesting because, as you said, you started with that windsurfing thing. I think I remember they had some sort of trailer sailor design back in the day in the back of my mind from 40 years ago. And then now the whole F18 thing, like you had pretty good success, I think, with your F18, which is the Edge, I think. And which obviously will lead us on to the Worrell. So you must have seen quite an evolution, but is it still like the 14 Windrush, it still just keeps ticking through? Is that how it works, or?
We still sell a lot of parts, but realistically now we actually have orders at the moment to build 4 boats, but I've just got to get around to making it. I've been too busy getting borrowers. But generally, we probably only make, one a year or something like that now. It's not worth making them, but we just keep trying to service the client as long as we can and come up with solutions as we run out of parts for various things. But there's a real 14-foot cat resurgence, as you know, going on all around the country. Yeah. And, I've got 4 people who want new boats or pairs of hulls off me at the moment, and I'm waiting for some foam to arrive from ATL and a few other things so that we can get stuck into them.
I was going to say there's quite a resurgence, as you said, and there's probably quite a lot of boats out there. So it's probably a good way of getting into it if you are looking for something.
Yeah, there's heaps of cheap boats laying, Hobies, Maricats, Windrushes, all over the country. I mean, there was 6,000 Windrush 14s, mate. They're all out there somewhere. There's only like bail at the yacht club, so they're around in backyards and on rubbish tips around the place.
Next to a couple, not that many rainbows got built, man, but there's still plenty of those in some rubbish tips around.
Flower beds.
So Graham Hill, that designed the rainbow.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And he's got one. He's restoring one of maybe even boat number 1. I don't know, in his shed. So that's good.
Boss is all
come
over
on the show whenever you want, Brett. Don't worry about that.
I love it. Obviously, you haven't been limited to cat sailing, but you've had a lot of your success in the world of being a cat whacker, and we say that with the way Aussies say it with love. And a lot of our overseas listeners don't understand the term cat whacker, but they've become used to it. So just so you can say it, but as long as you say it kindly, you're not going to get beaten up. But yeah, so most of that, the 18s and the Tornadoes, obviously winning a Tornado in the World. I watched a few videos of you and lead up to to this discussion, mate, and it looks like you do camp out at Nedlands Yacht Club, which is kind of, I think, that looked like Nedlands Yacht Club Beach to me. Which is
Nedlands Yacht Club, two main places we kind of sail out of over here. So
yeah, great scene, and I think I remember Tornadoes were dominant there for ages. So you're in like the nest of where all the cat sailors are. How the hell did you get into the moth thing? And so, like this throwing foils on a moth and racing at the Worlds, like where the hell did that come from? It did because it was two foils, so it was kind of like a cat. Is that what you were going for?
Well, kind of, yeah. The moth thing started about not long after we bought Windrush. John Eilert and I. John was an apprentice.
Yes.
And we were together, we were reading all the magazines. Andrew Landenberger wins the Moth Worlds in Adelaide. And I'm like, I really want to do a moth, and so we decided, let's build a couple of moths in the workshop. So he built a plywood one and I built a foam and Kevlar one, and we started sailing moths. And there were a bit of moths at Nedlands Yacht Club, mostly scows. And then gradually we converted everyone to skiffs. And then we started building the narrow skiffs, and it was just an evolution through the sort of, late 80s, early 90s. And then I had a bit of a break from sailing mid-90s until not long before the Moth Worlds, and built a plug and a mould, built a real skinny little boat, and it was going pretty well. I'm probably going to be top 5 or something like that with the boat I had. And I thought, a mate of mine who was an aeronautical guy, I went and saw him and said, why can't we put hydrofoils on this thing? And we spent half an hour and basically designed the whole system.
Wow.
Like we literally, he goes, I remember the formula. Let me think. He starts scribbling down formulas for how much surface area we're going to need based on a certain lift coefficient. We choose a foil out of his book of foils. And
wow.
He had a 3-axis. I went back and glued up some cedar and balsa blanks and brought them back the next day, and he CNC machined the shape for me. And I vacuum bagged them with carbon. And then like a week later, we had things hanging off the boat ready to go for a yacht.
Wow.
How was the first session?
I remember at Mounts Bay Yacht Club, we were leaving the beach. I was leaving the beach, heading out to the starting line, and just as I got past the pins, the bow of the boat lifted up and started like shaking from side to side.
Yeah.
And then it just launched into this big wheel stand and rolled over. And I just fell in the water laughing. I was like, this is going to work. It's like, just had this crash. And I'm like, this is going to work. And I reckon I probably went 25 knots that very first day. I had a wing on the rudder that was about, a third of the size of an A4 page, tiny little thing like we used to use where we didn't have any foils on the boats. And I had to way forward right up on the center of lift so that it didn't overpower the rudder. And, man, I had got over in some flat water on the other side of the river, and it was impressive how fast it was. But you had really no idea how fast you're going because there's no noise. You don't have that slap of the water on the hull. And so that just sort of, this was only like, I don't know, 10th of December or something. The World's already 2.5 weeks away. I better start like putting something together. And so, over the next couple of weeks, I threw this thing together. And if I had have sailed the Nationals with it, I'm pretty sure I would have won the Worlds quite easily. But I kept it secret because there was guys like Mark Thorpe and, other really top boat builders and stuff in the class that if they had seen what I had built, probably in a week could have replicated it. Yeah. And thought, I want this for myself. And so I did the Nationals just as a conventional boat and finished, 7th, 6th, something like that. And then I rocked up for the invitation race with the foils on and just crashed everywhere, rolled over, and it was a bit of a nightmare. But, I was determined that it was going to work. The first heat of the Worlds, we got off the start line, I think it was probably about 10, 12 knots. So I was just about able to foil upwind and got up to the top mark in second or third, I think. Passed the guys on the first reach because we were sailing like an M-shaped course.
Yep.
Passed them on the first reach, capsized, got it back up, passed them again. So I was back in the lead by the time we got to the first wing mark. And when I went to go into the jibe, I let go of the tiller, and instead of the boat bearing away into a jibe, it did like a 360 and more, just spinning around like you get a plate and fit it in the sink and spin it around. Sitting on trefoil, there's no resistance for it to turn. And it just spun like around a full circle and a half and dropped me in the water. Like, I don't even know what direction I'm heading at the moment. And then I sort of looked around and went, oh, there's the mark. I'm going to have to tack again and get round the mark. And off we went. By the end of that race, I'd capsized like 40 times and been in the lead 3 or 4 different times, but ended up finishing like 40th or something. But I was like, right, this thing is going to work. I've just got to learn how to tame this thing. You know, it was an absolute.
It's a thing of beauty, and I'm interested because the concept of coming up with that idea, putting it on, like, you know, foils were not new to boats. You know, foils have been around forever, like 100 and something years. There've been attempts at it, but actually trying to race, that was something unique. And even if you think of the amazing community of sailors that live in Western Australia, there's a history of that because from memory, Richard Court, who used to be the Premier of Western Australia, was the guy that invented the wing on the 18-foot skiffs. I remember as a kid watching that thing, him training on that before the nationals they had there. Yep. And there's that whole community of doing things over there, you know, like getting your hands dirty and making it. It's a pretty cool part of sailing, isn't it?
Yeah, and when you're far away, you know, it's the most isolated city in the world, so you can't just kind of go down the road to another city and see what they're doing. You got to make it up and work out how to do it yourself. So, yeah, it is an interesting thing living in Perth that so many interesting ideas and stuff come out of here and people prove all sorts of stuff. And the guy, Mark, that I was talking about that helped me with the foil idea, he's got this company now called FBR, which is Fast Brick robotic house building, like bricklaying machine, massive robotic.
Wow.
Yeah. That's cool.
You know, and amazing technology coming out of here and ideas, really. So
there's a story from the 80s, I think it would have been. They had the moth worlds in Adelaide back when skiff moths were just starting to emerge. And one of the Japanese teams flew into Perth and said, you know, they were going to drive to Adelaide and asked for directions. And, you know, West Australian local just said, oh, it's the next town along. Without them, you know, for the overseas listeners, I don't know, how far is it? About 1,800 kilometres, you know, like it's, you know, 1,000 miles? And it genuinely is. 2,700. How far?
2,700.
2,700 kilometres. There you go. So
just the town next door. Just get on that road and
the next town along.
It is the straightest road on the planet.
You imagine,
I do it regularly. I found a couple months ago.
Yeah, apparently these poor Japanese blokes turned up like a week later, just completely bamboozled that it was that far. You know, like it's just hilarious. But next town along, very very iconic Australian response, West Aussie response.
Yeah, I mean Perth to Adelaide, it's the same distance as London to Moscow or something. You know, people just cannot fathom how far it is.
Yeah, yeah, mate. You know, like. From the perspective of starting the whole foil thing, you know, with the moth, and then, you know, I think it wasn't too long before Rowan Veal came out and they were sailing that thing, and, you know, he dominated the world. So it was all just about control from that point on. Have you thought about going back, or you're happy in the cat world?
To be honest, I haven't actually sailed a moth since. I reckon Rowan sailed around to when I was at Balnarring or somewhere, doing a tornado event, and Rowan sailed around and he was swapping boats with Glennie, and Glennie was jumping on the moth, and I think I jumped on and had a sail then. And that's like 2008 or something. And I think that's maybe the last time I sailed a moth. Right. I may have sailed once. I did sort of have this half idea that I should see if I could go to the Maritime Museum and get some kind of, loaner deal to bring the moth out from the museum and sail it at the Worlds that were here a couple of years ago.
Is that where the boat is now, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's above Australia too in the Maritime Museum.
Oh, that'd be cool. That'd be pretty proud thing to have.
Good thing to have, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. What about the way the world has gone now?
Yes.
Obviously, being part of the pioneering side of things, and one or a person that probably a lot of people thought was a bit wacko, because that's what crazy scientists are. They look at a lot of people.
Yeah.
I mean, I did a lot of time with Greg Johnston, as you know, from Advanced Wing Systems, and that was like a salmon swimming upstream, trying to get the industry to understand that this thing was happening. And of course, now it's the norm for, twin skin mainsails and this. But
I see.
Yeah, well, it's a bit of a sore point, to be honest, with everyone involved, but we won't go into that. Look, you pioneered it. Well, how do you feel about it now? The way, it's gone from where you started it to what it is now. It's the norm. I mean, kids today don't even know a world without foiling. And we had a couple of kids on the show that just think it's normal.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it? How do you feel about it now?
I mean, all of that development time, we spent a lot of time with Rowan, building stuff with him, with John and Rowan, and then with AMAC doing stuff with Blade Rider. And it was, a lot of development stuff back in the day, which I'm really proud of the way that ended up. And I was doing the Fremantle to Bali yacht race when Bart got killed in San Francisco. And I actually felt really emotional about that. I sort of felt partly responsible because I had, sort of kicked off this whole new, the rebirth of foiling, if you like. And, not just me. There's other people. Ian Ward in Sydney was doing stuff as well, and there was guys in England doing stuff. But mine was kind of the first one that could actually race and compete around the course and win. And so I did kind of feel
the godfather of foiling. The godfather of foiling.
A lot of people call me that. So but it was, I'm really proud of where foiling's gone to, and the fact that it's so mainstream now is really cool. And the boats, the AC boats and stuff, are amazing, and the GP50s and just unreal. And like that 30-foot monohull, or whatever, the Baltic 130 or whatever it is. That's crazy. It's just so cool.
It's so cool. You're very right. It's a different form of sailing, and the two episodes of Bar Karate before this one are very much about bringing sailing, trying to grow sailing back. And one of the feedback, we talked the first episode we did, the coach talked, Adrian Finglas talked about, you've got to understand, you've got to know foiling, otherwise you're going to be left behind. And we got quite a few responses to that statement, saying that the growing classes are non-foiling classes. It's not for everyone. So we won't, kill it and say everything's foiling, but, you can't go to sea without being, even ocean racing now is on foiling boats, as you said, that 130-footer and all the Imoca boats, they're currently racing, we're racing across the ocean when we recorded this. It has changed the game, as BP said.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do think it's important that people learn to sail conventional boats that sea huggers, as we want to call them. But foil, it's the exciting thing that people want to see. And you look at the Olympics now with the IQ foil and the kite foiling, and it's an exciting time for that.
Yeah, it's actually a big topic of conversation right now in various places about the next class to come in. And I tell you, there's the Wasp are pushing hard to try and get some recognition, but that type of boat would be just perfect, I think.
Yeah.
What about
there's probably some newer one design moth style boats like the Wasp that may be in future a better option, but right now the Wasp, there's of them. I don't know that it's the right boat, but there's so many of them from that point of view. It's kind of like the laser of foiling now,
But that's my point. The point is that it's relatively accessible. One of the conversations which we had in the last two episodes was the price of sailing, and that unfortunately is inherent and is just a standard thing that we've got to deal with. And that's probably the reason for that sort of comment.
Yeah, the foiling certainly adds another layer of cost above a conventional boat. But anyway,
let's get to
move on.
Another growth class, like I'm sort of seeing a bit of a resurgence in the F18 thing, like where we're seeing F18s, F16s. There's some growing numbers. There's people getting back into those. You've obviously had quite a strong involvement in those, and you know, a classic example is you're about to do the Worrell, which is on the F18s these days. So, tell us about the F18. Like, why would anyone want to sail one of those things?
It's kind of, I mean, it's a one design. It's not one design, but it's limited development class. Yep. Box rule kind of thing. So it's quite open in that you can try ideas, but it's quite restrictive in that they don't want crazy ideas. Even so like we were just talking.
How do you go with that, Brett? I mean, come on.
Well, I got to read the rules carefully and find areas.
Tame it down a bit. Come up with your 4 o'clock in the morning idea and go, yeah, nah.
Yeah, we've got some ideas but we had some ideas previously which we built and turned up with, and the class went, oh, that's legal, but we don't like that because we don't want people to perceive that they're going to have to go and buy that. And so, you know, I've had a few that have been temporarily banned, and we've just put them on the shelf and said, no, we won't do it. But
sorry, Brett, is that an issue that in these types of classes does happen? You know, like for instance, you rock up at an event and you've got something on your boat that has been classed legal. It's clearly outstanding, and then all of a sudden the whole fleet feels like they have to buy it. Is that what you're saying with that one?
That's right. Yeah, it was when what it was when we first switched over to the deck sweeper sails. Mm-hmm. We were having issues with a few people falling over the front beam in the tacks because we start tacking in front of the mast.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so thing which we called the Concorde, which was like the spinnaker snuffer, but it was a rigid one, and it started off it was like a metre wide at the front beam and tapered up, and the spinnaker got sucked back inside it.
Mm.
And but it also had the effect of effectively being an end plate for the jib.
Mm.
And so the people were like, it's legal because it's made of fiberglass and it's a spinnaker snuffer, and it says you have to have one of them. But, you know, they didn't, at the time we did it, we lowered the bridle as well and a few other things. And it was kind of a bit hard I probably went too far with it in one go. And it was kind of like, the perception was that it was better, even if it actually wasn't. And we didn't actually feel like we were any faster. In fact, we felt slower, to be honest. But it was a safety thing for me. It was like there was now a deck for the crew to walk on in front of the mast.
Yeah.
And I thought that was important. But as it turned out, it was going to add $5,000 to the cost of a boat. And so in the interest of the class, we just put it on the shelf and never used it again, kind of thing. So.
Right.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, that's probably a good thing.
And Olivia, president, he now says to me, hey, Brett, if you've got ideas, you bring them to me first, and I will tell you if I think we should have that in the class, which is cool because it recognizes that I'm, inventory kind of person, and then I'm always looking for rules to see where there's some space for something new.
It's interesting, that class, when I look into it, I don't have any experience with it. Very keen to go for a sail one day. Got plenty of friends in the class. So I guess that'll happen. But there's a lot of different boat builders and designers out there, like even in Australia, do you guys all get on? Do you communicate, or is it intensity? Is there rivalry? How does it work?
There's rivalry, but we do all get on. Okay. The good all, like within Australia, you've got, good all and ourselves sort of, we build them here. There's a build elsewhere, but the companies now, their companies now sort of based in Europe, but we get along really well. We were actually sharing components, we were buying their rudder housings from them, or they were buying some tiller locking bars, just little bits and pieces that we could share to sort of offset some of the setup costs and stuff.
Yeah,
was good. And I get along with guys from NACRA. Get along with the guys from Cirrus. There's, as you say, there's probably 10 or 11 different builders around the world, and there's probably 6 or 7 that are still actively competitive, and different boats winning different events, around the world all the time. And our design now is probably one of the older ones. We designed the boat in 2010, and
wow.
we still go to and win races with it. So whereas the others have all had upgrades, they've got the new Akura, the Evolution, the Cirrus 901. All the other companies have come up with 2 or 3 generations of boats since we designed ours. We still go and win races at the Worlds and stuff with it. So sort of don't feel like we really need to change much on our boat. Which they're a little bit heavy. Like the class in general is a bit of a heavily built class, so they last really, really well. You can buy a 15-year-old Windrush Edge and you could probably go win the Nationals with it. So, yeah, it's good.
Okay. I'll add that to the fleet, BP.
Yeah, need one of them.
Am I right that they don't foil though? Like you don't race them as foiling boats, do you, with the F18?
No.
And so, but there are foiling. Sorry, Brett, go.
Okay. The class actively encouraged the builders to develop foiling packages, but specifically for racing. They were very firm on the fact that we weren't going to be foiling in F18, but they were keen for the boats to be multi-purpose. And so, we did a foiling package for ours, where with outward curved T-foils, kind of similar to the TF35 actually, as it turned out. And it worked really well. We could plug them in, take them out within about an hour. We did a marathon race down at Mandurah in the Peel estuary, where we sailed one day with the foils on and smoked everyone in the long distance race called the platform race. Got back to the beach. Half an hour later, we pulled foils out. We're ready to go race the course racing as a conventional F18.
Yeah, that's cool. I love that. I do love that idea, and we've sort of got that idea with our little project, haven't we, Jordan? About trying to make a couple of boats out of one because of cost, hey? But because you can, and if you can do it, I love it.
Yeah.
Before we jump onto the Worrell, like you mentioned in your discussion doing the the Frio to it's Bali, isn't it? I'm trying to remember which one it is. Frio to Bali. Yeah. I think you've got the course record on that one. I think weren't you on? Is that right?
Yeah. There was Tony Mitchell, who's deceased. He chartered the boat off Lute Ingval for which was the old Nicorette.
Oh,
and
jeez, how did you keep that thing from tipping over?
God, mate, how did we stop the oil pissing out of the hydraulics? There was issues with that boat, but luckily we had a whole bunch of handy people on board that could solve the issues as we went along.
Band-aided up. Lots of band-aids.
For the event, like patching it up and putting it back together. And we did a couple of training sails before the event, and we went out and had a ball. We actually really enjoyed ourselves. We had a remarkably easy trip, and then you had guys like Ginger on General Lee that got smashed. They had heaps of breeze and were flogging along, and they were all soaking wet for 5 days. We were in T-shirts for the whole way. We were just
I love it.
We're waiting to get up into the tropics so we could get some rain and have a shower on the deck.
Yeah. I love it.
That mainsail catches a lot of water. You can get a good shower you stand under the boom, and there's a lot of water coming off that when it rains in the tropics.
Yes.
I love it. But so the reason I'm asking that is, you've been doing a bit of offshore time. I was wondering if there was a bit of research and development going on for the Worrell here. Like are you working on navigation? Are you working on sleep deprivation? Are you working on new ideas?
Sleep deprivation doesn't matter, Jay. He's already said he's got that.
Well, I mean, obviously talking to Rod Waterhouse about the Worrell, you've got to sail a long period of time each day without much time, much break. You've got to keep sailing it fast because you've got to beat guys like Randy Smythe, who are, legends of the sport.
Yeah.
And so really we joined in with the Fremantle Gelton race. We've done the Coventry Reef race. We've done the Round the Island. We've done a bunch of races this season in the offshore just for a bit of practice and to learn how to keep concentrating on sailing the boat fast for 8 or 10 hours. And night practice, we joined in with the Fremantle to Naturalist return race, which started at 6 p.m. So by 7 o'clock, is fully dark. We're out near Rotto in 20 knot easterly,
Wow.
2 sail reaching in the dark. And our plan was only to go down to sort of Point Perrin and then come in under the causeway and back through Coburn Sound and back to Jervis Bay Sailing Club. So we just did about a 4 or 5 hour trip, probably 3 hours at night in plenty of breeze. So that was a new learning experience. Like my eyeballs were pretty sore the next day.
Yeah, I was going to say, how did you find that? You
can see, it was a good moon that night actually. So you could see reasonably well just with the moonlight, but you can only really see the shape of the water for about 10 meters, and when you're doing like 9 meters a second, so you've really only got 1.5 seconds of vision of what you've got to steer through.
Wow!
And so that the challenge, you just could not take your eye off the water. Because it was pretty fresh, and we hadn't really done any night sailing. We were thinking we better learn how to do this, and so that was a really good experience. As was when we did the Fremantle to Geraldton race, we sort of joined in with that and did the first 100 miles or so, and we were out there in front of the TP52, just flying 30 knots, me to sea on a surf cat. That's pretty hectic. I mean,
yeah,
the guys.
Absolutely.
Oh, it was rough. And I'm like, yeah, you thought it was rough. What do you reckon it's like for us?
So you've had a chat to Rod Waterhouse. Obviously, you've been associates for a long time in this particular area. What has he had to say? Because he's, probably the most experienced Worrell sailor that Australia's probably produced and got some great results. I mean, what has he had to say to you?
He's very encouraging. But he's also quite happy to tell you how hard it is, which is good, because you do not want to go into this thing with your eyes closed, thinking it's going to be a park. And I think part of it for us was going and doing some of those things like joining in with the Frio de Gero race where it was super rough. We were 25 miles offshore in a 30 knot southerly, thinking, well, we've got to look after ourselves here, but we've got to keep pushing the boat and to learn where the limits are. And that, I think that was probably the thing that really opened Max and my eyes up to how difficult the Worrell was going to be, which was good. I'm really glad we did that back in November or something last year. So it really, we've had time to realise how difficult it is and what we need to focus on. And Rod's been, he's fantastic. His knowledge of his knowledge of the course, he's going to be able to tell us where the sandbars are, when we can cut a cape, when we have to go outside it. All of that is going to be hugely important for the team. And, we are Team Australia. We've got myself and Max sailing, and we've got Bailey and Pete Skews sailing on another edge. So we're, 2 Australian boats, and we're all kind of working together. Rod is effectively our team manager, kind of gluing us all together, pointing us in the right direction. And we're all pretty amped. It's coming up real soon.
Oh, yeah. We love it.
I just want to say, I want to ask a question, because there'll be some kids out here listening to this who are going to get their cat and go 25 mile offshore without thinking. What safety equipment you got on there, mate? I just want to make the kids start thinking about the safety.
Probably a good point, Jay. Yeah, don't do this at home, kids.
Unless you got to prepare. So what was the safety element? So
basically what the big boats have to carry. So we had PLB, man overboards. We got an EPIRB on the boat. We had 2 radios, lights, whistles, signal mirrors, all the sort of stuff that you would have in your bum bag. You pack for offshore.
Yep.
We carried all of anchors. We got a big rope, and we didn't have a drone. We figured we'd just tip it over if we needed a drone, put the kite up in the water.
What did the organisers of the event say? Obviously, you had to tell them you were going. I mean, they would have been a bit apprehensive, because they always are.
They are. We wanted to tell them.
Oh.
We told several people. But then so enough people knew that we were doing it, but we didn't actually. I had actually asked Susie Gent, who was on the offshore committee at the time, do you think we should go to, I can't remember, I think it was Freshwater Bay, we were running that one, and tell them that we're doing it, or I'm happy to pay the entry fee or whatever. Just obviously we can't comply. Just wanted to be out there with them, and we did that first one, and a few people were a bit worried about us. But then we explained why we were doing it. And the offshore community in WA have been super supportive of what we're trying to do. And, then we've turned up at the start line on 3 or 4 other events, and they're all going, they want us to mix it up on the start line, and we want to keep out of their way.
Yeah.
It's been really interesting how we've been received. I did expect a lot of pushback, but I did point out to everyone right from the start, we're carrying all the same safety equipment except for a life raft that you guys are. And so, if things turn bad, we can kind of look after ourselves. And when we did the Aero race, we knew that there was a record on for the big boats. And I really was conscious of the fact that if we got into trouble and they had to help us, they were going to not get their record. So when it got really hectic and we were kind of like, we don't really want to do our first night sailing in 30 knots, 20 mile offshore, getting up towards Donga or somewhere where it is extremely rough. So we, chose the correct path, looked at the GPS and went, if we jibe now, we're going to come in about 10 miles south of Lancelin or 5 miles south of Lancelin. There's a really good pub at Lancelin. Let's go there.
Yeah.
So
you can do the speed run while you're at it too.
Nice flat water. Yeah.
It sounds
bloody awesome.
So let's talk about the Worrell specifically. Like you're heading over, so it's only a few weeks away, isn't it? 2 weeks? As we record.
We leave, as we record, it starts 12 days.
So what's
May
that?
12th.
May 12th. Starts May 12th. So we're going to publish this on the Sunday the 11th, I reckon. Perfect. So that'll be a perfect lead-in for everyone to start following you in for that. I think that was the logic of this whole discussion, actually. I think that's what I thought of. Let's say that's what I was thinking of because I'm a planner.
Good on you, Jay.
So, yeah, obviously we don't have a weather forecast at the moment, but in terms of what you're expecting, it's intensely contested, as you said, Rod is the master of it. I take it you guys are going, because you're sailing with Max, is that right? Max, it's Max Putman is the guy you sail with mainly?
Correct. Yeah. So Max and I together on the boat, Pete and Bailey on the other boat, Rod on the beach. Yeah. Dan from Windrush on the shore crew and Pete Manley, and we've got a really good team of people.
So last time we spoke to people doing this, like I think it was Rod, the whole Team Australia last time, the boat hadn't turned up. I think it was just around COVID time. The boat I think they went and bought another set of hulls just to be ready. How are you guys placed?
Yeah. Well, it's a remarkably familiar situation.
It's called shipping, mate. They don't give us stuff.
So, no, we sent the boats 90 days before the event for a 56-day voyage, and now it looks like it's going to arrive a few days before the event. It's getting tight, but, the ship's just left Norfolk. Next stop is Savannah in a day or so, and from there it clears customs, and we should be right. But, there was a bit of a mix-up with containers in Singapore. A container got left on the wharf for a week, which helped. But then we missed a boat in Fremantle. We got the ship was oversubscribed and they couldn't fit us on, so we were lost a week there. And then the Red Sea situation meant that they decided to track around Africa rather than going through the Suez, which adds another week. And so it's sort of when we knew that was happening, we were like, well, it's going to be tight, but we're going to be okay. And then the Baltimore Bridge thing has sort of compounded everything, because now all the ports around there are sort of trying to take. And so we ended up when it was in New York a few days ago, and it was there for an extra half a day longer than they expected. Then it got down to Norfolk and it sat at anchor outside for 2 days because the port's a little bit busy because of the bridge situation. And so now it's left its next stop is Savannah, and that's where it goes on land for us. And so, tomorrow, the next day, it should be on land, and we're just waiting on customs to clear it and so on then. But, that can turn to custard as well.
When are you heading over?
We leave Sunday this week, so only a few days away. And looks like we're probably not going to have the boats for the first few days we're there, so we might get to cruise up and down the beaches of Miami and have a look at what's going on.
Oh, no.
What do you ask Jay about that?
may or may not have done that a few times.
Unfortunately, Bicey had to leave, so he had to go and do some sail training this morning on his Wally Cento.
Yeah.
But he's got some stories with Jay, I believe.
Yeah, me and Bicey ended up in cruising up and down the beaches of Miami a few times together. And I'm actually in Florida on Sunday as you're leaving. So I'm on the West Coast. So I'm going to be on the Gulf of Mexico side. So. But I was going to say I could check for you, but you'll be there around the same time I'm there. So, and you're on the right coast. So, but yeah, you will enjoy Miami. Yes. You will see some things you're not expecting, my friend.
Yeah, I haven't been there since 1988.
Oh,
I was there. I did Pro Sail Salem, Pro Sail Miami in 1988 on Hobie 21s.
Yeah, right.
Never seen the boat. Saved up all our money, flew from England because I was in Europe that year, and did the event. Oh, we had such a fat time. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
Miami is pretty cool.
It is very cool. Good. You're a seasoned pro. Things may have changed a bit. We've changed, that's for sure. Yeah. Father times.
I had my birthday in Miami, so now I'm 55, so that's just a couple of years ago.
Love it. So in terms of goals, mate, are you willing to state what your goal is for the Worrell? Or
we're going there with the full intention of trying to win it, and I know how hard, and we've done everything we can to be as prepared as we can, but I am going there with the goal to try and win it. Okay. And Rod and I both sailed in the Archipelago raid in Sweden a couple of years ago, and that was just after he had won the Worrell. And he said to me, have you ever thought of doing the Worrell? And I said, mate, I have wanted to do that race since 1988.
I love it.
And he said, well, I want to do it again. I want to win it again, but I want to win it as a team manager. I said, I'm your man. This has been brewing up for nearly 2 years.
I love it.
Beautiful. So it's all just fallen into place for you, one would say, and it's all about to happen, mate. I'm stoked for you. Can't wait to watch this happen.
If people want to send support,
live, I think so.
Sorry, Brett. Say again, buddy. I spoke over you.
There's going to be, I think they're going to have live feeds every day on the Worrell Facebook page. The Worrell1000.com is the website, and their Facebook page will be smashed, I reckon, every day. It's they're going to have live stuff going on. Yeah,
well, we'll be pumping it for sure.
Yep, we're fans.
Cool.
If people want to send you some support, just go. Is it Team Australia? Is there a Facebook page, I assume, or something like that?
There is a Facebook page that the guys had for previous races, and I think Pete Bailey and that have just started getting that back online, going again for this one.
Okay.
But I have my Facebook page. Max has got his. There'll be. I think anyone who wants to say hi, send us some positive messages or something, because we're probably going to need it after a few days. I reckon we're going to be. The hard part will probably be 3 or 4 days in when you're just done
slugging it out,
and you've just got to be believing that the other guys are doing it harder than you are.
That's it.
And just keep.
Well, that's probably where Rod comes in. I mean, he's probably, his first one would have been an experiment, for the want of a better word, and then his next one would have learnt from that, and then all the ones he's done since, obviously he's eventually led to being a master, and so he's going to be a bloody good person to have backing you up.
Certainly, fantastic mentor for this event. That's for sure.
All right, mate. We're out of time, but so to finish off, I just got one more question for you, bud. You got any ideas hidden on the shelf that we don't know about yet?
FA or just boats in general?
Anything
you want to share with the yachting world, Brett?
So we know what the future looks like.
Minds like yours are few and far between.
Yeah, I've always got things going on in the back of my mind that I want to do, but for the last few years, I've really been trying to maximise our F18. It's the fully Australian built. Everything that's on our boats when we go to the Worlds is made within 50 metres of where I'm sitting. The factory out the back is where we build all the hulls. I put the beams and the masts together. Max builds the sails like just up there and right above us. So his sail loft is in my factory. So everything on our go to this event has come from within 50 metres of where I'm sitting right now.
Cool, mate.
So that's pretty cool.
It is very, very cool. We like that, particularly in my current career. That's it. We like to see Australian production. Mate, best of luck. It's been a ton of fun chatting. I think we only touched about 10% of what we could have discussed. So we may revisit you at some stage, particularly...
Well, we're going to have to do a post-Worrell chat.
Post-Worrell chat, something like that, yeah.
Whatever unfolds. I mean, this could go...
Yes.
This is just a story waiting to happen anyway, so...
Love it.
There'll be good and bad. And that's...
No question. No question. And either way, we want to hear about it. So, mate, have a great time. Just get out there and enjoy it. It's a lifelong goal, and live every minute of it.
Yeah, we'll do. Thank you very much.
See you, bud.
Great to chat.
It's not a small program, is it? This Worrell 1000, to put it all together, and to get over there, to make it happen, and then to the race itself. I just can't imagine what it's like doing 20 knots on a F18 18-foot F18 catamaran and trying to navigate and eat. Yeah, it's like full on.
Lucky they can use the Radix BP.
You've done it again, mate.
Tried it with salt water. It's not bad.
No, they'll 100% be on the Radix program, these guys. So that'll be good. And they would have gone to Radix Nutrition and used the Bar Karate discount code, and they'd be off and away. And
no question.
Yeah, but it was a good discussion. Really, really interesting guy. I just like, he obviously just tinkers and thinks, and he's got the capability to make things, and so it happens. And yeah, he's doing well. We'll come back to the actual Worrell. We'll just jump onto that later on in the discussion. But yeah, I'm really glad we had that conversation. So, should we move on to other things that are going on in?
Well, there's shitloads going on.
What is going on? That's what I want to know.
First off,
I've got something to say before we do go on.
Yes.
There is so much going on that it's just hard for us to cover it all.
Oh, it's our joy to cover it all, BP. It's purely our joy.
It is our joy.
It is. That's right. I'm going to make I don't know if you boys have picked up on this, but the letters of the week, I've started, or emails, sorry, letters, Granddad.
Letters. Do you collect stamps as well?
Yeah.
I've opened up all the letters and read them all.
Yeah, I particularly like it when the watermark, when the post office stamp doesn't cut, the post office stamp doesn't cross over the stamp itself. So,
yeah. Then it's a mint stamp.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly right. No, I was going for a theme. I've been going for different themes when we've been doing our contributions from the listeners, and so this one, it's about clothing. Clothing was the theme. It's just couldn't help myself. So, first off, Eve Ramsey sent us a note. Hey boys, hope you're all well. I'm one of those more petite sized people. Is there still a chance of getting a small hoodie? We'll also need a normal size one for hubby if you're getting them back in stock soon. Have to give a bit of a self plug. There are a couple of little ones in the grey with the blueprint. And
correct,
yes. There won't be many little ones in the new run, which is green, a sort of olive green, I guess, military green.
Army green, military green.
Army green, yeah, with a white print. It's going to look pretty cool. So for the young lasses out there, small of size, who are looking, and you get colder because
lads and lasses, of course.
Lads and lasses.
We don't.
Yeah. My wife refuses to wear any sailing garments. She gets cold easy, and she wears her Bar Karate hoodie a lot. She loves it. So if you're into it, you're keen, jump on it because they are a cracking outfit. But so, yeah, new one's coming. New one's definitely coming.
Probably a couple of weeks we'll have them in our hands, and we'll put them up on the website, and you can just order through the website. So here, go for it.
Did I skip club events completely? If I missed that?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
we'll come back.
Completely missed it.
Yeah, we'll come back, loop around. It's all right. Let's just throw it around. So we're doing the Jack Lloyd.
It's going to wreck everyone's. Going to wreck everyone's OCD.
Sorry, Scott.
They're going to be driving along and they're going to be scratching their head.
So we're doing the Jack Lloyd Listener of the Week. We'll go back. The AI message, BP, was that you that sent that one through, or Bicey?
Yeah, it's a bit of a laugh, wasn't it? Eh?
Where did that come from?
Where'd that come from, BP? What did you do?
I just was searching on WhatsApp and just sort of looked up bar karate, and it brought up some. It said bar karate, a very popular, down to earth, up to date version. It's took discussions about sailing with two hosts who I didn't even know.
Hang on. Let's actually read it word to word.
Yeah,
because it was quite good. So, but I'm just going to say AI wins the Listener of the Week this week.
Who is this? When you type it, is it Al?
Are you reading it, boss?
Bar Karate, the popular sailing podcast, has reached an impressive milestone, over 1 million listeners. Hosts Jordan Spencer, Brett Perry, and Nick Bice share their sailing adventures, expertise, and humour, making the podcast a hit with sailing enthusiasts and adventure seekers alike. Join the community and tune in for inspiring stories, sailing tips, and entertaining conversations. Congratulations to Bar Karate team on this achievement. A few hashtags in there, including Bring Back the Rainbow. Feel free to share on social media or with fellow sailing enthusiasts.
You just got to laugh. I mean, where does that come from?
But hang on.
AI, that's where it comes from.
Yeah, AI. So hang on. Now, AI, it's computer, so I can't make mistakes. It says over 1 million listeners. That means we've got an audience of over 1 million, because we don't track our audience. Or is it 1 million listens? Have they got it wrong?
No, well, they said listeners. Hard to believe. But, hey, is it fake news?
Oh.
No, I'm going to run with it.
Hey, well, either way.
Mate, I'm here in Hamble doing a bit of work, and we're chatting. I just was up in the White Hart having some bangers and mash the other day, and there was 3 people there talking, and we were just talking about it, and they were all 3 of them were Bar Karatians.
Yeah.
So
walked into the old Victory Cup base the other day.
Yeah.
Step up onto one of the boats. Oh, you Bicey from Bar Karate.
There you go.
Look, all I'll say is either way, it is a big number. When we started this show, we sat down and wrote.
It was 200. We 200 listened to the first episode.
Yeah, we wrote a couple of rules for ourselves. So and one of the rules is one of the things that's got to be interesting, informative, or funny. That was it. And then it's never about us; it's always about the audience. And so from that perspective, we want to make it about the audience, and the fact that we've got, I'm going to call it over 1 million listens, but if it's 1 million listeners, then if that was, we've had a million different people listen over the life of this, then that's believable.
Completely stuffed up because we were.
I mean, we do.
Could have asked for $1
we're still
each.
broke.
Could have asked for $1 each.
But
we'd ask for $1 each. We'd be looking pretty.
We're in the top 0.000% in terms of listener retention. We've been told we're one of the best performing podcasts for listener retention. So it just means I was trying to get to thank you to everyone out there.
Yeah, that's where we're heading with this.
Because it's about you guys.
Or not.
It's about you guys. The other thing I do want to say is that we try and do, obviously BP making the jokes about the lack of money. We don't make much money out of it. A classic example is our partnership with Vaikobi. Well, none. But the partnership with Vaikobi, we give that all to you guys. So we don't take any money out of that. We just give it all out to the listeners. So we really appreciate that. And I'll come back to that one at the moment because I want to just continue on. Denise with the Denise Delmundo has sent a whole list of different Crocs things through. Boss, have you been seeing them? Yeah.
No, of course not, mate. I don't follow stuff like novelty things like that. But bloody good stuff, Denise. I like what you've done.
Yeah. And then Pat Langley. I have to mention our mate Pat, who is Vaikobi. He's the principal behind Vaikobi. I just wanted to discuss that because he has changed the rules for this week. Team, Pat
Yes.
Langley, they've been really busy. So they've been sponsoring the World Surf League event in Sydney in the Surf Pro. So they've expanded. So he's turning into a bigger and bigger company. So what he said is, boys, nice work with all the good stuff to promote the sport with sailing, which is now clogging your inbox. Some real gold in there. I thought we might try and ramp it up this month to add a bit to the Jack Lloyd Listener of the Week. This month, the winner is going to take home our brand new Hamilton jacket, valued at $300.
Woohoo!
As Bice would say, this jacket is a ball terror. Super high waterproof rating, hooded jacket style, heaps of pockets, high fleece collar, etc., etc. You know a good jacket when you see it. It is sleek design, which looks great on deck or the pub doing a bit of bar karate. So you can jump onto the Vaikobi website and look at their team wear and Hamilton jacket. It's, as Pat said, it's a ball terror. So it's probably a good month to jump on and try and come up with your best email. Go on.
Just a little ball tightener.
Oh, ball tightener
is what it is.
Yeah,
so
I was going to jump in and say it's ball tightener.
Oh, I'm wondering, if you buy a Musto shirt or something, because it's been worn by the Worrell family, it has the Worrell stamp on the tag. Maybe we could do a bar karate. This is a real ball tightener. On the Vaikobi.
We could do
official,
that.
Official supplier of ball tighteners.
It's
bar karate. Official supplier of ball tighteners.
It'll be like on the side, on your washing instructions. This is a ball tightener, something like that.
This is a ball.
Do not use below 38 degrees.
Congratulations on your Vaikobi purchase. It's an absolute ball tightener.
38 degrees minimum. Don't use below 38 degrees water temperature and handle with care.
I love it.
Jeez.
Cool.
Wash on delicate mode.
All right. And the last one, so all the clothing ones are done. I do want to refer back to, we got a message from Mike Job.
Big one.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Big one.
So back to our discussion about bringing people in sailing. Long-time listener, enjoy what you guys do. Was listening to your chat with my good mate Aid Finglas a couple of days ago. Always Aids and Scott were right on the money about getting asses wet and growing the sport. Have some thoughts coming at it from another angle, that of growing adult participation and then them dragging the kids along with them. The reality is that while the sport of sailing is shrinking, the recreational activity of sailing has grown about 25% post-COVID. But as these newbies are outside the catchment of yacht clubs and so are not on their radar, they are, however, on AIS. You see these people came into the game during COVID when we're all being held hostage by our state premiers. As soon as the lockup ended, people that didn't involve getting on a plane people were looking for new activities that didn't involve getting on a plane. Many had been exposed to it by sailing vloggers sitting in their basement watching hot girls in bikinis sailing in warm places and posting their vids on the interwebs. I'm sure you're all well aware of the reach of La Vagabonds and their elk, or elk as we say in Sailing Anarchy. These attention-whoring lotus eaters were a godsend for sailing and drove literally thousands of people to the doors of charter companies, boat brokers, and most importantly, and where I come from, sailing schools. He then goes on to talk about himself a little bit, to explain that he's got a bit of credibility in the sport, and he does, absolutely. So a life working on boats, running sailing schools. I'm just speeding through it. He's now the RYA Senior Yachtmaster Offshore Examiner in Australia, responsible for training assessment of all RYA Yachtmasters, has been on the board of major yacht clubs, involved in trying to grow the sport, and blah, blah, blah. So I just wanted to skip past that because there was a lot of it. The role takes me around the country running instructor courses, examining yachtmaster candidates. So I have a unique insight to how the industry is growing in Australia. And I can tell you it is booming like never before, with all schools doing record business. This means never before numbers of adults taking up the call, and they are staying in the game. They are chartering, buying shares in boats or owning them outright, and 50% of them are women. but only a handful are joining clubs. Why? Because they don't need to. They keep their boats.
Interesting point, isn't it?
Yeah, in commercial marinas or chartering here and abroad. And to be honest, they don't think they need what the yacht clubs are selling. I know this firsthand, being a member of the board at RQ since 1980, served as chairman of sailing and board member for many years, and championed my own boats, offshore races, Hobart's Fastnets, Kenwood Cups, Brisbane to Gladstone over 30 times. As you are well aware, all clubs are struggling to get boats on the line on Saturdays while their Wednesday fleets just keep growing. There are many reasons for this, and one that the clubs need to understand, but so many have their heads up their asses and still living in the 60s. Of course, many of the larger clubs have now become restaurants with marinas out the front and lost the very spirit of what attracted to them in the first place. Sailing has gone from the reason they exist to being a cost centre in a large commercial organisation with an eye on the balance sheet and not the rigging lawn. Back to the point, sailing schools are now the main portal to people entering the sport, and the training centres wield great power as they have these people captured on their databases. This is across the world. The clubs need to embrace these people, but they can only do it by changing the product they offer. Some have, but most still don't get it. But if they can capture these adults, we see trickle-down growth in the sport with the kids then following Ma and Pa into our world. I've spent 25 years doing this and would love to talk more about this to you guys. Appreciate the input, Mike. I think one point he said there, adults, grow the adults and the kids will be dragged into it. That's one thing I really believe in. So, yep, happy with that.
I extend on that and say that what he's saying is bang on, that the clubs are probably at the top of the problem.
They're missing bodies. I hadn't even considered that they were.
No, well, that's why it was such a good email, because if you think about it, these schools are generally now becoming independent. And you can just about have a trailer with 6 boats on it and just drive down the beach and not have to go to a club. The clubs should start thinking about that side of it.
No, okay. Hey, well, so go on. It's good. Go on. Cool. All right.
I was just going to say, we just quickly, we've had another email come in. I don't know if you've seen it.
No.
From young Paddy Butler. And I'll just quickly go through this one, not in as detail as yours, but it's on the same subject. He's a friend of Scott Patton's, and now a 25-year-old, having been a key member of multiple sailing committees, talking about having younger people on committees. He says he comes to us known as the Hobie 16 Worlds, where Owen and Suz Gent snatched their first title. He's just bagged his first World Championships on the Hobie 14, but it goes on to talk about exactly what we're going on about and what they're doing in the Hobies. His last paragraph is interesting. It's, Inclusion, Diversity and Equity Advisory Group for Australian Sailing. This is a new role for me. My main reason for applying this advisory group for our governing body is to get an idea as what Australian sailing are actually doing for grassroots and clubs and create an accessible environment for families and the common man. And it says, essentially, not much.
I feel like
this is a great start.
I don't want to be bashing. We can't bash, but
no. But I'll be speaking at the New South Wales ACT Sailing Summit in Canberra later. It's not that they're not doing much. It's that it's just the amount of work that has to be done. I think that's what we need to clarify here. It's so much to do to try and get this to happen, and I think everyone is on the same page, but it's trying to pull it together globally.
You know what? I think Mike Jobs' statement, though, is pretty close. I think we just need to go sailing, just take people sailing. Yeah, just take people out. Boss?
Before we do move on, gents, plenty of commentary this week on your little photo, BP, of the yellow plane. So yes. Well done to those just putting the boot in. One Jordan Spencer. I'm sure you found it quite hilarious in between airports and planes and Boeings and all those sorts of things. So
did you laugh when you saw your little plane?
All the regulars, bloody good.
Yeah. All making
brings a smile to our face as well.
It's good that we've got these ongoing jokes. You with the Crocs and the rainbow, and me with my gigantic head. Oh, dear.
What have we got for BP? Just doing. You are in bed again.
I'm in bed again.
You're not wearing any pants, are you?
I put a t-shirt on.
I love it. Oh, dear. That's
There's
why
no
I've got
plane
this.
big enough. Jody Shields just jumped in. No plane big enough for Jordan's head. No wonder there's a delay. Eh?
I have a very big head. Enormous. An enormous head.
I'm not sure what video you got that from, mate, but it's a bit risque.
Yeah, risque. Don't go searching Jordan's big head.
There'll be listeners out there who know exactly what movie that's from. Right, should we go to club events and stuff?
Yeah, we missed club events. So for the OCD listeners, let's get back onto it.
Well, we got an email from Ellen Noy. Now, boys, she wrote, "My name is Ellen. I'm on the marketing committee for the B14 skiffs. We've exciting Worlds and Nationals coming up in Sydney at Woollahra Sailing Club. Sophie, who's a fellow B14 owner, said great things about the Bar Karate podcast and shared your email. We're hoping you may be able to give a shout out about our upcoming Worlds, 1st to the 10th of January 2025. The website is up, the Instagram page is up, the Facebook page is up. We'd love to hear back from you." Well, Ellen, let's just say that we're going to give you a plug because what do you guys think? B14 Worlds? I actually like the B14s. I've always had a soft spot for them. Not sure why. I've never sailed one, but
gained quite a bit of traction around the world, and I mean they weren't. They're a Bethweight design, and they're not as big as the Taser essentially, which is a predecessor of the B14 sort of philosophy, but. They're very much a family-orientated boat, and that philosophy is exactly what we're talking about here.
Yep, no, more than happy to promote it.
It's all in theme, really.
It's going to be great. Like Woollahra, great club. If you think of coming down, then jump onto it. Woollahra
it's a lovely part of the world.
Lovely part of the world. Sydney Harbour. Just watch out for the seaplanes. And B14s, they're pretty cool boats. So yeah, more than happy to publicise it and get entered or go down and have a look. Another event coming up is on May 25, the 2024 Auckland Noumea Yacht Race. It's been 5 years since the Royal Acaronian.
It's been 5 years.
Yeah, it's hosted the race from Auckland to Noumea. It's open to monos and multis over 9 metres. More ocean racing, good on them. Love it.
How big's the X2, BP?
9.2 metres.
9.1. Yeah, perfect.
It's designed for the Sydney Hobart.
There you go. And the Auckland Noumea race,
and the Auckland Noumea race. Well, we do have a second one on its way to New Zealand in September, so bring it on.
Yeah. Bring it on.
Well done.
Perfect. All right, so that'll be a good one. The other things that are on this week, we've got the Formula Kite World Champs. We've got the Yingling World Champs, the Maxi Euros, which Bossy talked about, and then the 505 North American Tour. What were you going to say, BP?
I said, the Yinglings.
Yinglings.
Blast from the past.
Yeah, no, I just sort of mentioned it. So the Formulas kites are in here in France. They're on now.
Not in Parma, not in here in Parma.
Yeah, shut up, you idiot. The Maxis are in Sorrento. The Yinglings in Austria, in Tronosy in Austria, and the 5-0s in Alamitos Bay Yacht Club. So and that's almost about 30 miles away from where I was in the airport. If the delay had lasted any longer, I could have gone sailing.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
Do you have your harness?
And your helmet?
No,
do you actually travel with your harness just in case, Jordan Spencer?
I did my last nationals. My back was rooted. I took my harness off, put it in a bin. So I can't go sailing on a harness. It's been 12 years. Anyway,
you're going to have to do something about this.
Gonna definitely have to do something. Right, now let's move on, boys. We need to do this.
Ole, 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 ole. Feeling hot, hot, hot.
It's hot time with Bite.
Feeling hot, hot, hot.
Imagine we do our own little dance for the listener. They wouldn't see it, of course. But and we're just ripping off our tracksuit pants. You wouldn't need to do that, BP.
No, mate. I'd have to throw the quilt off.
Don't have any pants on.
jump around on the double bed here.
Anyway, boys, what's happening in the world? The Transat. That's probably top of the list at the minute. and we've saw within the week, we saw the winners and the grinners. Our mocker class, we saw Johan Rishom. He took the win on Paprek Kia. So well done to him. Militia, good friend of the show, Boris second, and Sam Davies third.
Catch up with good. Boris again because he was number one. He was episode number one.
Yeah, he was our first guest. Yeah.
How's this, boys? So, how many mockers were there? There 26 currently racing. I think there was like 35 or something that so winner 8 days 6 hours, second 8 days 9 hours, third 8 days 12 hours, fourth 8 days 14 hours, then so on 8 days 15, 8 days 18, 8 days 19, 9 days. So top 10 basically within half a day.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, bloody good. Moving to the class 40s, we got the Worrell boat, one of your favourite boats, Jordan Spencer.
Yeah.
Took the win with Ambrogio. On the helm, Credit Mutual, Ian Lipinski second. And then whatever that one is.
It hasn't finished though, has it? I thought they were still going.
Yeah, no, they finished here.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I'm out of date. Yeah, copy.
So the top 7 have finished. Still waiting, for the rest at the moment. So
good event.
All good there.
But they'll all be racing back next month.
They're all racing back. Quick shout out to young James Harada, who's finished in 19th, which he was happy with in his Gen 2 sailing program as well. So good on him.
No, absolutely. Well done to James. And also a shout out to Clarice Cremere.
Yes, I was going to bring this one up.
Who she had some structural issues on her boat, went to fix them, basically. And now she's fighting her way into New York.
So the latest with her is she's ETA on the 20th, and the race starts on the 22nd to come back, and she has to start. So we're going to keep an eye on that one. She has to start that. She has to start the return race for the qualification. So good luck to her. So everyone out there, full energy. Let's go.
Actually, while you're talking James Harada and the Gen 2 racing, I did notice that our mate, another one of our guests, was jumped on board. So Peter Gibbons-Neff, who PGN Ocean Racing, was on with James the other day after, I think, just helping him clean up the boat. So
good on him.
All the Barcaradians getting together. I think that was quite...
it's a nucleus. It's a nucleus.
I like
it's a nucleus.
A community.
Little galaxy.
I love it.
Little Barcaradian galaxy.
Right. What else?
Next one, I've got Sail GP, boys, last week.
Oh, yeah.
Possibly one of the greatest sailing places on Earth.
Yeah.
I'd agree with you.
Possibly sailing one of the coolest boats on Earth. So it was all good. All good. What observations, gents?
Happy for the Spanish boys.
Happy for the Spanish. Yeah. Love the manoeuvre from Nikolai Sahested against the Aussies. After that was a pretty cool manoeuvre in one of the races.
Did you see one of the memes? It was like they obviously got a bit of old footage of slingers saying that Nikolai needs to get a bit more
aggressive
at times.
Yeah.
Yes.
Aggressive enough.
Yes.
Was that?
Yes.
You know what? I was
aggressive.
really, he doesn't get mentioned much, but I thought Diego was sailing his boat brilliantly, like Diego Bogan on the Spanish boat. There were a couple of things I saw him do through the weekend, and I just was going, wow, this guy is so good. He was so good. There was some brilliant...
Their consistency is the key now. Let's start putting the word forward that consistency is important now, because I think they're well and truly up there.
Oh, it was great. It was great. I felt really happy to see.
It was interesting. Go on.
No,
I was going to say it was interesting to see Slinger's comments about they changed boards or something and they couldn't get the data they were wanting.
Yeah, so they swapped out from on day one. It was heavy wind boards, and then day two was the light wind board, and then it wasn't going down at the right speed. It's too slow or something. So it was there was a few technical issues they're saying. So a bit like the US, they had a few technical issues. No, the reverse curse did not work, boys. Has the reverse curse been broken?
The reverse something worked. The reverse wing.
I felt really bad when I saw that. I thought, oh no, we forgot to put the curse in place. But the reverse curse, it's just a curse in that situation. But yeah,
don't touch the red button. What's this button do?
Good news is next month we go to the first event in Canada.
The Canada. How good's that going to be?
The Canadians are going to put on a good show.
Halifax.
You know?
Oh, fantastic.
June 1 to 2.
When is that?
June 1 to 2, buddy.
June 1 to 2.
Yeah, she'll be
I'm going to be there end of June. Oh, well.
Missed it by that much.
That much. Men, the other one, the topical at the minute, Worrell 1000.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So.
Well, it's actually started, hasn't it?
Race 1.
We're a day late.
Yeah, race 1. Leg 1.
Have you got the results?
Yeah, I've got results.
Wow. Okay, I'll bring it up because this is I haven't seen it yet.
Okay. In first place, after the first leg, Australia won in 6 hours, 22 minutes, 47 seconds. In second place, Australia 2 in 6 hours, 24:18. In third place, Cirrus Sailing, 6 hours, 30. And then it starts to blow out a little bit. But yeah, top 3. So Australia 1, Australia 2 and Cirrus. For the people who have been listening to the episode and didn't ignore the interview, Australia 2 was Peter Skews and Bailey Skews. Australia 1 is Brett Burvill and Max Putman.
There we go. What have we done?
We reverse curse the shit. It's back.
I know. It's a big event. It's a long event.
Yeah, I know.
Very long event.
Yeah, be careful.
Yeah, okay. Don't mention it. And then Emmanuel Ballone and Matthew Marfang is the team on Cirrus Sailing. Wish them well for the rest of it, but yeah, continue on.
Yeah, no, that's it. That's me, boys.
I've actually got a couple. If you don't mind me throwing a couple in.
Go.
I seem to have found myself in a little bit of a hub. This area is thriving with activity from juniors through to seniors. But on the weekend, I'm going to give this a mention because I was actually where they were based, and that is the Women's Open Keelboat Championships, IRC, at the Royal Southern Yacht Club here in Hamble. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to give them a mention because I loved it. There was over 8 boats on the water, and it was a real hive of activity. Getting in first was Susie Moore, J111, Ellie Woolman, another J111 third, and Hannah Stoddle in for third. So, it was pumping.
Cool.
Good.
And was that it? Or you got another one?
Well, yeah, there's one more. I think I don't know if anyone saw that I did manage to get myself out onto the Cape 31 start the other day.
Oh yeah. Saw that. Yeah. Didn't get to watch
battery
it.
Battery run out.
You idiot.
Oh, is that when we went Bark Ruddy live?
Yeah. You should watch it. It's pretty funny. Yeah, no, it's pretty funny because I didn't know the names of the boats. So it was the silver boat with the green bowsprit and the black boat with the pink bowsprit, and then fuck it. As the screen went black. Anyway, but Kumbu got up for the win on the weekend. So our friend of the show, another friend of the show, Chapo, Dave Chapman, so on board, saw him. So they're pretty happy.
Yeah, nice.
I do want to
Great
mention
stuff. Great to watch.
I got a couple of things to mention. One that's really a big one I haven't discussed with you boys, but I do want to congratulate Tita and Banty for the 4th win in the NACRA 17 World Championships in La Grande Motte in France. Oh, yeah. Those guys are on fire. Great way to lead into the Olympics. They're defending Olympic champions, and I've done 3 world champs back-to-back. They've got 4 in total now. So very impressive performance. You'd have to be thinking they're great. John Gimson and Anna Burnett of Great Britain were second. And then it was another Italian team, Gianluigi Ugolini and Mario Giubilelli, held on for the bronze. So there you go. That is a pretty big thing. So the NACRA World Champs, boys. I got another thing to mention. I'm going to throw a business idea to you. Well, actually, no, it's a gift. It's a gift to our listeners. In reality,
what we already do.
Yeah, no, this is a genuine one. we've been offered, there is a potential for people out there looking for corporate space or wanting to watch the Cup from a venue that's on shore but very high and elevated over the course, probably half the cost of any of the daily cost of doing watching the Cup. I would suggest that if you do want to take up this offer, you can reach out to us. But if you're interested in taking it up, it's probably half of what it'll cost you anywhere else. The only downside is I would suggest that you're going to be surrounded by a lot of New Zealanders. So that gives you a bit of a hint as to where it's come from. But there is going to be an opportunity that anyone looking to take up corporate days, tickets, I don't know, they're probably €800. So if we said they're 700, 800 New Zealand, which is about half the price of euro a day, that's about where you're looking at. But if you're interested, just let us know. Nothing's formalised yet, but I think I can follow through for you. So I just had a conversation with someone during the week, and it'll be very nice location, being able to sit there and watch.
That. So what you're saying, Spencer, is we can have some bar karate corporate viewing of the America's Cup.
We can, and if we get enough interest, we may have some bar karate host activities.
What? Get out of town.
Oh, come on. We can't be doing that.
Well, this is what it's been.
We can't be seen at sailing events.
It's been run past me and suggested that the opportunity is going to exist. But yeah.
How many are we talking? What numbers are we talking here?
Well, you got every day, so
No, we're talking about the people.
Well,
10, 20, 30?
Oh no, I think it's quite large. I'll have to but yeah, if we're inundated, then we may be in trouble. But I think we'll be fine. If you're a corporate out there looking to do a bit of entertaining, and it is very good value, there you go. I've just given you a gift. Halved you.
Imagine if we get 10,000 of our listeners. 10% of our listeners, sorry.
That's 100,000.
100,000 people standing at the doors waiting to watch the America's Cup. Who brought these in? Bar karate.
I love it.
Life members.
Yeah. Oh, well, first in, best dressed is what you're telling them, BP. That's what you're saying. Isn't
I am. I'd say get in there quick, because if we can make this happen, well, and it's the first time we've heard of it, to be honest, but if we can make this happen, I know how it works. But if you can make this happen, mate, go for it.
I wish I could tell you the phone calls I got that night. There's some stuff I can't talk about because I do stuff that I can't. No, I can't share.
Secret.
Yeah, it's top
secret squirrel, squirrel. Spencer.
But I had three amazing phone calls in one night, and I was in the US, so it was like one was at 3:30 in the morning, one was at bloody 1 in the morning, one was at and I'm trying to work, and But anyway, just imagine the craziest phone calls you could ever imagine. Anyway. All right, let's move off me because it's not about me. Cool. I think we're done though, aren't we, boys? That's it.
I think we're done.
Oh. Shall we wind her up?
Wind her up.
Oh.
Yep.
I'll get the guitar out. I'll play it in bed.
With your pants off.
Pants are on, please.
What are you doing the slide with there, BP?
No, come on. Not X-rated. The X-rated version tonight.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
Yes.
Remember to jump onto Radix Nutrition and get yourself a discount on us, Bar Karate, in the discount code. And have a great week. Send in your letters. Send in your emails.
And if you've got events you want us to talk about, bloody hell, send them in too.
Yeah, that was good. Send in the new Hamilton Jacket events. That's how we do it.